Welcome to Tuesday, the 16th of November, 2021. Your podcast brought to you today by Chugwater Chili, the gourmet spice of Western life. Take advantage of some great holiday discounts this month of November. Go to chugwaterchili.com. That's an easy website to remember, chugwaterchili.com. This week, 33% off of all Chugwater Chili swag, t-shirts, hats, aprons, and more. Great looking gear there at chugwaterchili.com. Cold front is advancing across the region today, and as this cold front comes, more wind and turning colder. We had some very, very strong winds across Montana and northern Wyoming overnight and early this morning. We have multiple blowovers along Interstate 90 between Buffalo and Sheridan, and along I-25 as well between Casper and Cheyenne. So if driving a high-profile vehicle today, be careful. We're going to see a few snow showers, but nothing heavy with this front. More than anything, you're going to feel the cold. There's a good shot of cold air with this front. Temperatures tonight, Wednesday, and Wednesday night will be quite a bit colder than the very mild weather we're experiencing now. Generally fair weather for Thursday and Friday. Now, over the weekend, we do have a weekend Pacific weather system. Actually, it's multiple little Pacific waves coming. They're not real strong. I see the high country getting a little snow this weekend, but just a few showers on the plains. But the weekend will be a little cooler, a little unsettled. Then I think early next week, the weather looks good. Thanksgiving week outlook. What we're going to do starting today is just kind of give you an update on what the Thanksgiving week looks like from a very big general bird's eye view of the week with not a lot of details. Because as we mentioned in yesterday's podcast, there's a lot of variability in the modeling. There's a lot going on in the Northern Hemisphere that's really going to affect the long-range computer model. So we've got to take it kind of one day at a time for Thanksgiving, but we'll start today. Today's satellite photo shows a nice storm system up here in southern Canada, and here's the cold front that's sweeping through the area right now. For the second week in a row, there's going to be a significant snow event across south central areas of Canada, and this is important. You may just kind of think, well, that's Canada, right? But in the big picture, that could play a role later this winter. We'll talk about that. You can see a lot of the high level clouds, the lenticular clouds forming downwind of the Rocky Mountain front here. But as we go and take a look back to the west, you can see that there's really not a lot of moisture back here at all with the front. So we're just not going to muster much, but we will get the wind. Here are the 30,000 foot winds this morning as of 6 a.m. Mountain Time. And you can see this area right here, very strong winds going over the Continental Divide. This orange area here, these orange areas are jet stream winds in excess of 120 knots. So we're talking about wind speeds up to 140 miles an hour or so. And one thing to remember about one reason why it's so windy in the Intermountain West in the cold season, when you take a look at most of the major mountain ranges that are in the Rocky Mountain West, the majority of them, you have the exceptions like the Uintas that go east-west, but the majority go north-south, generally trend north-south. When the wind direction aloft is perpendicular to the north-south mountain ranges, this is when you get the big wave function. You get the lenticular clouds that form on top, but these waves, as they go down and hit the plains off the mountains, you get a big sinking motion, and basically you transport these strong jet stream winds just east of the mountains and onto the plains. That's why places like Cody and Casper and Cheyenne, in Colorado Springs and Boulder, that's why when you get these really strong jet stream winds perpendicular to the mountains is when you get the strongest winds on the plains. Now I'm going to show you this graphic. We have shown this to you before, and I'm going to show you this graphic many, many times throughout the course of the fall and winter season. Now a lot of folks are saying, wow, it's been really warm this fall, and it has been. Classic La Nina. There are two La Nina scenarios in the cold season. Scenario 1 and Scenario 2. Scenario 1 is the one we have right now. A very fast, generally west to east jet stream wind coming off the North Pacific, basically pushing mild air into the lower 48 and keeping temperatures above average. Also, this is a very windy pattern. This is exactly pattern number 1 that we're in now. And essentially, even with this cold front coming tonight and tomorrow, we're going to stay in La Nina phase number 1 through the weekend and into the start of next week. Phase number 2 is when La Nina throws you curveballs. You get a highly amplified jet stream, the door opens to the Arctic, and then it spills in. The ability to go from La Nina 1 to La Nina 2 is actually quick and can happen with very little notice sometimes. And so you got to stay on your toes, because what could be a mild, warm, hey, where is winter pattern to all of a sudden is, hey, what happened to our mild winter? That happens very quickly. So this is a scenario. We're going to go back and forth from all fall for the rest of the fall and the winter season. We're going to be in 1 and occasionally 2. Occasionally 2 is when we're going to have trouble with very cold temperatures and snow. Number 1 phase is when we're going to be mild and we're going to have these bouts of these high wind events. Classic textbook La Nina scenario unfolding for the fall and winter season. And you can really see that. Here we are today with generally a west to east flow. Here's the low center up in south central areas of Canada, and we get the cold front and the strong winds coming in behind it, but the heavier snow and the heavier precipitation is going to be north of the low. Heavy precipitation is always to the north and northwest of the low and out ahead of it. If you're south of the low, you don't get much moisture and you get a lot of wind. This is for Friday afternoon. We have a little bit of a ridge wanting to build up in the Gulf of Alaska and generally a west to northwest flow into the Rockies. This will bring several small little waves through, keeping snow showers going in the mountains, keeping us cloudy and breezy on the plains through the weekend. So you can see this is through Friday afternoon. The heavier moisture is up here. We get a little bit of snow shower activity in the central Rockies here. The heavier moisture is more towards the Pacific Northwest, the source region of the moisture, then downsloping winds east of the mountains. And basically, you get a dry wedge there, and also you get a dry wedge here in the desert Southwest and the southern Rockies. Snowfall through Friday afternoon, a little bit in the mountains, nothing to write home about. But notice up here that heavier snowfall. So let's take a look at the long-term trends. Let's take a peek at what we see coming Thanksgiving week. This is a forecast for Wednesday afternoon, the 24th into the 25th of November. So basically the Wednesday preceding Thanksgiving Day. What we're seeing now is the formation of a trough in the western United States around Wednesday and Thursday of next week. This is not really organized. At this point in time, it doesn't show a strong storm, but some type of low pressure may be coming in Wednesday and Thursday of next week, and that's going to mean at least a trend towards colder temperatures. It also means a trend that there may be some precipitation around Wednesday and Thursday of next week. However, we're pretty far out. We'll put a question mark here, but it does appear as though the beginning of Thanksgiving week, Monday and Tuesday, there won't be much going on. It's the second half of Thanksgiving week where things get interesting, or at least that potential is there. There's another thing I want to highlight for you right here. You see this gray area right here? What the long-range trends are suggesting is the potential for what we call a Greenland block. Here's Greenland. A Greenland block happens in high amplitude flow. They tend to happen more frequently in La Ninas, which give you more amplitude flows at times. And this is something to be expected. A Greenland block is a big weather maker in the cold season because, as the name implies, a Greenland block, a big high pressure ridge, develops over Greenland in the North Atlantic and basically blocks Arctic air masses from getting pushed out into the Atlantic. So guess where they go? They go into the United States. So will this Greenland block form in the long term? It might, and that's something that we're going to keep watching for you. If you look at snow cover, and this is why I wanted to mention the Canadian snow cover, over the next 10 days, this is the forecasted snow across North America. This is very impressive. If you get this much snow in late November, you're going to keep it on the ground. It's just not going to melt because of the low sun angle, the long nights and short days, and also the fact that it just gets colder this time of year. If you put this much snow cover down in Canada and in the Yukon and Alaska and the Northwest Territories, what'll happen is when we do start to see these Arctic air masses move, they have no resistance because they're going over snow cover. So the air masses moderate. They always moderate some as they go north to south, but they don't moderate as much if there's snow on the ground. So while we're seeing very little snow so far here, we are seeing it pile up here. So keep that in mind. Sometimes we tend to look this way for everything with our weather just because we're told, and it's true, most weather systems move west to east, but sometimes we forget to look up here and watch what's going on, and that's what we're going to be doing here in the coming weeks. We're going to be watching up here. Snow cover has really expanded across North America. Look at what's happening on the other side of the globe. So you can see the source regions for these cold air masses that are forming are really beginning to build up, and it's going to be really easy for cold to grow and expand. Case in point, this is by noon on Tuesday of next week. These are forecasted temperatures for low temperatures along the north slope of Alaska. We're starting to see some negative 30s. Would not be surprised if we start seeing some negative 40s. So the cold air masses are building. I tell you, Alaska is going to be going through some really cold weather here in the coming weeks, as well as many areas of northwest Canada. This is all the way out to next Monday, and you can see these are temperature anomalies by early next week. So if you're anomalously cold in these higher latitudes here, well, once the door opens, it's going to get colder. So to go back to that jet stream pattern I showed you where it goes flat, then wavy. When we're flat, we're going to be warm and windy. When we go wavy is when we're going to see these temperature swings and these swings in the weather that things turn different. This is looking all the way out to December 1st. This is showing anywhere you see the blue and the green here, the air underneath the blue and the green on the surface is really, really cold. We're going to see some intrusions of very cold air into northern Europe. And then I talked about the Greenland block. Here it is showing up at 15 days. So we're going to have to keep a really, really close eye. This is a bad eye. Keep a really close eye on this as we go forward into the end of the month and into early December. Have yourself a great Tuesday, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.